Welcome, everyone. I am John Ryan of SportsMemo.com, and this is the Full Count Major League Baseball show for June 23rd. It is a little bit after 3 o'clock. We apologize for starting a little late. The host, which is me, had a little bit of difficulty getting technological stuff accomplished, but we're going now. Welcome to the show, Jesse Schule. And Eric Pauly is joining us as well. This is definitely a great duo of professional sports bettors and handicappers, and you definitely want to get over to Sports Memo and pick up their picks today. Today is no special day that I know of. Yesterday we had to spin the wheel, which I think is an outstanding promotion where people can actually spin a wheel, and you can buy discounted subscriptions at a vastly discounted rate. It's kind of fun. It's almost like being at a carnival for 2 minutes. Great idea. So we're going to break down 3 games as always. And the first betting odds that I want to review is the over-under for the number of times that Jesse Schule and John Ryan will conflict with their best bets or their leans. I'm going to make it 0.5. Over, you have to pay minus 130 juice. Under, plus 115. So whoever wants to bet me on this, you can bet me. But I kind of control how it's going to go, don't I?
You're the third party.
Let's get right to it here. The first game is a big one. And this could be the ALCS later in October this year. 2 teams in the Major League Baseball have double-digit leads, and they're playing each other tonight in the Bronx. That's the Houston Astros. They are first in the American League West with a 10-game lead. Framber Valdez, 7-3 ERA, 2.78 on the season. He's in pretty top form here. And then we have Jameson Talon, 8-1 ERA of 2.70, and he could be 8-1 on the Yankees offense if he had an ERA of 4.70. The Yankees are 51-18. This is the fastest start of any team to 50 wins in more than 20 seasons, and they've done it in 69 games, and it's one of the fastest that the Yankees have ever done, period. 1998 was a magical year for New York City fans, actually, whether you're a Mets hater and a Yankees lover or the other way around. Those 2 teams had the highest win percentage of any New York duo of teams in the history of the sport. And that goes all the way back to 1882, by the way. But now, 24 years later, the Yankees are just they're just destroying everybody, and it just looks like they're going to run away with everything. But, this is a betting show. If the Yankees are this good, that they have done all these record-breaking achievements, why is the line only minus 115 and they're playing at Yankee Stadium? That's the thing that sticks out in this game. Let's start with Jesse Schule and see if he thinks there's anything up with that line.
Well, you're absolutely right, John. The line stinks to high heaven, and you look at this Yankees team and you think, what can I do? All I can do is try and come up with a reason not to bet the Yankees today. So let's see if I can do that. Houston they got a 10-game lead in the AL West. The Yankees have a 12-game lead in the AL East. The Yankees are first in the major leagues in scoring, and the Astros are 18th. So that tells us that the Astros have been doing it with their pitching. Framber Valdez will go for Houston today, 7-3 with a 2.78 ERA. He's pitching well, but he's facing the major league's best team, the highest scoring team in the majors. So, I want to see how he's done against the Yankees. He did allow 3 runs on 6 hits and 6 walks in 4 innings pitched in a no decision in his last start against the Yankees. That was at home. And his last start at Yankee Stadium, he allowed 5 runs on 4 hits, 2 home runs, and 3 walks in just 3 1/3 innings in a loss back in 2019. You got Jameson Tylon going for the Yankees, 8-1, 2.70 ERA. He's coming off a quality start in a no decision versus Houston in his last start against them. And Houston is just 5-11 in their last 16 in the Bronx. I tried to come up with a reason to bet against the Yankees today. I can't do it at this price. I'm just going to roll with the better team.
Wow, the better team. Overall, you think the Astros are the better team over the Yankees?
No, no, I'm taking the
Oh, the
Yankees.
the other way around. I got you. I got you. I have headphones on, so I have no idea what I'm listening to. But yeah, okay. I can see that. I can see that the Yankees are the better team. I mean, look at the record. They would be 6 games ahead of the Houston Astros if they were in the same division. Let's move over to Eric Pauly and see if he agrees or disagrees with you, Jesse.
Yes, so like you guys both mentioned, I mean, the line is a little bit fishy. The Astros obviously are, if looking at the entire major leagues, they're probably a top 3, 4, 5 team in baseball. So I'm not too shocked about the Yankees only being slight favorites here, just because again they are facing a high quality of competition. But what the Yankees do at home and what they've really done, not only offensively, but their pitching staff, we could talk about ad nauseum, right? Like they're 8-2 in their last 10, 51-18 on the season, 29-7 at home. They have a 326 team on base percentage, which is third in baseball. So, again, we can go listing on why we think that on how good the Yankees are. But looking at who they're facing today, they have Framber Valdez, who's been really phenomenal this year, and he's also kind of locked in on the road as well. He's got a 2.78 ERA, but a 1.61 ERA on the road, 3.32 FIP, a 1.15 WHIP in those 14 starts this season, and he's 4-1 on the road this year. The Astros have won 7 of his last 8 starts, and in his last 3 starts, he's gone 6 innings in each game, allowing 8 runs, 16 hits, 18 Ks. Again, he's going against a vaunted Yankee offense. But the Astros, their pitching staff and their offense is pretty damn good too. So Jameson Taillon, he's got a 2.70 ERA, a 3.01 FIP, and a 1.06 WHIP today. He's 4-1 at home with a 2.7 ERA, and the Yankees are 11-2 in his starts, which is really remarkable. But he had a solid last start against Toronto, but he was hit hard against the Cubs and the Twins in his previous 2 starts before that. The Astros have a very good offensive team. So I'm actually going to stay away from picking a side in this game. I have a best bet that I'll reveal on this show later with couple other stats revolving around it. But I would actually lean toward the over of 8 runs in this matchup.
Pretty clearly, it is 2 pitchers though that combined 15-4 record and a 2.75 ERA combined. So I guess they do have the potential to dominate, and also their bullpens are pretty darn good too, especially the Yankees. If those guys pitch, here's a question for you, Eric, real quick before we move to the next game. If both those pitchers log 12 or more innings combined, would you still like the over? In other words, if you knew ahead of time that they were going to pitch 13 innings combined, even 14, would you still like the over?
Yeah, so it's a situation really where, again, looking at the game line, right, you would think this screams take the Yankees. They're only slight favorites when they're clearly the best team in baseball. 8, I think, is a very fair pricing. I could see this game actually hitting 8 directly and pushing. I would consider taking the over still if it were just these 2 pitchers pitching. I think Taillon is kind of walked himself into a better situation, and then he actually is as a pitcher. I mean, his 3.01 FIP really does tell a lot that he is legitimate this year. Valdez 3.32, again, above the league average with the FIP. So they are 2 seriously good pitchers. But I think in this kind of situation, we're going to see a playoff atmosphere. And in some situations, that means low-scoring games. And others, that means, teams just fighting till the end. I think this is going to be a 5-4 squeeze out. I think it would be a slight hit to the over. Again, it's not a best bet or anything I would put a ton of stock into, but it is my lean. I certainly think that this game will go over.
And I think you'll see Altuve, every time he comes up to bat, the New York fans are going to let him know that they're there. I'm sure it's going to be interesting, the choice of words and wording, but the number of heckles, I would say the over-under would probably be about 504.5. So it'll be entertaining, especially when he comes up to bat. A lot of passion in that stadium tonight for sure. I have just 2 angles to mention here. The Astros are 24-9 when facing an American League foe that's scoring 4.9 or more runs per game. In games played over the last 2 seasons, that's pretty good. And the Astros are 11-1 on the money line, facing a starting pitcher that's won 80% or more of their decisions over the last 3 years of games played. I guess you know where I'm going on that one. So that is The over one already, Jesse. I was hoping that we'd have a unanimous 3 games, but I really, honestly, that's the beauty of handicapping, right? We all have our opinions. It's all backed by our facts. It's not throwing darts at a board, and we're allowed to be on different sides. It doesn't mean one thing or another. The show would be pretty boring if we always just said, "Oh yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. Yep, I agree with that." There wouldn't be any entertainment value, I don't think. Anyway, let's move on to the second game. And this is a team heading in 2 different directions. And early, preseason, I would have never in a million years said that it would have been the Baltimore Orioles that are actually outperforming preseason expectations. In fact, they've made it to 30 wins faster, which they're at 30 and 39 right now. Actually, 31 and 39, but they made it to 30 wins faster than any time in the last 5 seasons. 3 years ago, guys, it took 103 games for them to get the 30 wins. That means that they had to be 30 and 73. And then the year before that was even worse. I think it was 112 games it took to get the 30 wins. This is by far the best season the Orioles have had of at least the last 5, if not the last decade. Chicago, we talked about them preseason, AL Central, no competition for them. They're going to run away with this thing. How untrue is that right now? They are 1 game under 500, 3rd place in the American League Central. And it's kind of like taking too long for them to find their footing now, and get in sync and win some games. And they're struggling week by week by week. They're just not finding that chemistry at all. And, initially here, I actually lean towards the Orioles here. I like the juicy dog line. Let's start with Eric Pauly this time and see if he agrees or disagrees with that.
Yes, so I think you're making a great point. I mean, the Orioles, of course, they're definitely overperforming, and the White Sox are certainly underperforming. And like you said, I thought it was a really great point that, of course, we're not even halfway through the MLB season, but at the same time, as we know, time will slip away for teams to really find their footing. I think if the White Sox have not found their footing now, unfortunately for them, they may never find it because they're in a race against the Twins. The Guardians are always going to kind of be competitive with that pitching staff they have. The Twins are actually a very underrated team. I think they actually are very good. But looking at the White Sox and the Orioles, both of them are 6-4 in their last 10. But what's really standing out to me is that the White Sox over their last 10 games have a .319 team batting average. So that kind of indicates to me, because looking at their lineup, that's really where their strength of their team should be, that maybe they should finally be turning that corner. They're only 15-18 at home, which is honestly inexcusable from them. And the Orioles are 13-22 on the road, which is kind of like the Baltimore Orioles we expected. It's a very interesting pitching matchup today. We have Dean Kremer going for Baltimore. The 26-year-old has made 3 starts this season, but he's been relatively impressive. 2.35 ERA, 1.17 WHIP, and a 3.46 FIP. He's gotten 15.1 innings under his belt, allowing 4 runs on 14 hits. He's a fastball pitcher predominantly, has a cutter that he also likes to throw in with a little bit of a changeup and a curveball, which is his least thrown pitch. The White Sox, again, just inexcusably are bad at home, 664 team OPS. They're bad against righties at 657 team OPS. And it's also kind of a very big warning sign for Chicago that they're relying on a veteran like Jody Cueto, which they brought in to kind of really anchor this team. Cueto, of course, had a great MLB career, but again, you kind of wanted to, from a White Sox fan perspective, you don't really want to be going after and getting these like veteran guys to really be the ones who are bolstering the staff. In 6 starts, 1-3, 2.95 ERA, 3.65 FIP. Very, very good outing against the Astros. And he's had 3 scoreless starts, but also his other 4 starts, he's allowed 3+ runs. So Orioles cannot really hit that well. I think -1 for the White Sox, a little bit too good to pass up. So I'm going to disagree with you on this one. I'm going to go with the White Sox with some decent juice, but again, taking the much better team at just -150. I'm very curious to see what this line will be tomorrow if the White Sox do put a pounding on the Orioles tonight.
Great breakdown, Eric. I like it. You got me thinking that I probably shouldn't make this a bet to the window, maybe just a pizza money bet. Maybe I'll take the Orioles if the White Sox score first. I like doing that kind of strategy. Let's move over to Jesse Schule, see what he's got for us. Maybe he's got a pizza with a pepperoni on it for me that I can make it like 11 pizzas coming from a Vancouver pizza parlor, which I'm told don't exist in Vancouver.
Well, John, you and I often disagree, but Eric and I often agree. And when we do, we are money. But we're going to disagree on this one. The Orioles come in as winners of 7 of their last 11. Overall, they have just 2 fewer wins than Chicago. Chicago actually has a better record on the road than at home, 15 and 18 at home. And injuries have hit this Chicago team really hard. If you look at their depth chart, it's just all red. Even a guy like Lewis Robert, who hasn't missed a lot of time, he continues to show up on the injury report with lingering ailments. And you mentioned Cueto going for Chicago at his age. He's now the 5th starter in the rotation, 1-3 with a 2.95 ERA. He is coming off of a gem, though. He did toss 7 scoreless innings, allowing 2 hits with 5 strikeouts in a win over Houston in his last start, which is a positive sign. Dean Kremer on the other end, 1-1, 2.35 ERA. He tossed 6 scoreless innings in a 1-0 win over Tampa in his last start. So both pitchers have been quite solid of late. I'm looking at Chicago, 10-7 straight up in their last 17 overall. Interestingly, though, 6-11 on the run line in those games. So I'm looking at Baltimore to keep it close here. Given the price, I think Orioles on the run line is the play for me.
I like that even better now. And where are we seeing the run line? Basically, probably about minus 160, 150 maybe?
Think in that neighborhood.
Yeah, in that neighborhood. And that's not too steep getting 1.5 when you have a pitcher like Kramer on the hill, who's been really a surprise for the Baltimore Orioles. Clearly pitching well, better than his counterpart for the Chicago White Sox. Johnny's been struggling a little bit this year. A bit erratic, especially compared to seasons past when he was just a machine. He, 7 innings plus every single time he went out. And of course, nobody really knew who he was because of all the other superstars that were already superstars. But I think Creamer here is really in good. 1.80 ERA on the road, 1.20 WHIP. Granted, it's only his second start on the road, but his last 3 starts, 235, 117 WHIP, 15 and a third. Tremendous control, only 4 walks, spanning 15 and a third innings. I guess if he gets shelled tonight, he gets shelled, and that can happen. But I like that plus 1.5. I guess. No offense to Eric Pauly, and it's only a like. It's not like a premium best bet type of thing. But here we go. Dr. Chuck's game of the day. The Philadelphia Phillies. That was supposed to be funny. 36 and 34 on the season now. Losers of 4 in a row to the Texas Rangers. What is up with that after you win 13 or 13 out of 15 games, and then you go to Texas and lose 2 more, and you lost 2 at home to the Rangers earlier this season? And knowing that after these 2 home games, you have to go out the 2 road games in Arlington, you have to go to San Diego, who is the number 1 seed right now in the wild card, and just basically a dead heat with the Dodgers. I mean, we're not talking about the Milwaukee Brewers here. We're talking about the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are an excellent team, probably the best team in the National League, and maybe the Mets are. They're kind of pretty good too. So are the Braves, by the way. But still, they're playing a playoff contending team now. They're not playing a wannabe contender that's having a pretty good season in the Texas Rangers. And this year, I think with the travel, and although it's only from Arlington to San Diego, I just initially think the Phillies are going to get waxed. They have Ranger Suarez on the hill, which makes me think that even more. Jesse, I'll let you take from here, and maybe you can straighten me out on this irrational exuberance I have to bet San Diego.
Certainly, John. You might be irrational indeed. I'm looking at the Padres. They swept Arizona in a home series despite the loss of Manny Machado. And Philadelphia is coming in off of back-to-back losses to Texas. However, Ranger Suarez is going for Philly, and his numbers are rather pedestrian overall. However, 4-1 with a 3.86 ERA and 6 road starts. So he's got a little bit better numbers on the road. The Padres are a favorite for a reason. They're sending Joe Musgrove to the mound, 8-0 record, 1.59 ERA. You can't do much better than that. But he's coming off the COVID list, so I'm not going to count on him suffering any ill effects of COVID, but it certainly wouldn't be a surprise if he was. And as John mentioned, Philly's still the hot team. They've won 15 of their last 20. They won 10 of their last 12 versus right-handers. And this San Diego lineup, without Machado, without Tatis, compared to the Philly lineup, I'm not sure that San Diego should be so heavily favored here, and I'm going to take Philly on the run line.
That's interesting. There's a prop bet that I actually like that's counter to what I said about the Padres, but Bryce Harper to have 2 hits or more, at least 2 hits, plus 230, and that's offered at FanDuel. Do you like that or don't like it? And I'm talking pizza money bet.
I mean, 2 hits or more. And what did you say the line was?
Plus 230.
And that's old, considering the starter for San Diego. I would probably prefer 1 hit or more at a lower price, a little less aggressive.
Yeah, and that 1 hit is probably I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but it's probably
or one and a half total bases, something a little less.
Yeah,
aggressive.
1.5 total bases is better, I think. You're not going to get 230, but it's more likely to happen. Yeah, just curious. Eric, do you have any opinion on Bryce Harper having at least 2 hits tonight?
I agree with Jesse there that only plus 230 for 2 hits against Musgrove is a little too inexpensive. It's not enough payout. So I agree with Jesse on that one, actually.
Okay. I'll just have to not eat pizza tonight because I won't make any pizza bets. That happens. I can eat steak. There was another one I'd like too, player props. Astros, Yordan Alvarez, who has just been scorching hot after a really pathetic start to the season where he was batting like 140. I mean, he's just murdering the ball. And as good as Judge is doing, I think he's actually playing at a higher level. Home run tonight by him. And by the way, Alvarez has been outstanding in Yankee Stadium. One of the best players, statistically speaking, to play as a visitor in Yankee Stadium in recent years. Plus 320 to hit a home run. What do you think of that one, Jesse?
Got to check the weather report. Did you check the weather report, John?
Well, it's not going to be raining if that's what you're talking about. That's already gone through. It's pretty muggy.
Yeah.
But does it matter with Alvarez? I mean, he could have a 50-mile-an-hour wind into his face and the ball's still going to go over the fence the way he's swinging. Maybe not 50 mile an hour, but 15.
Especially with that short porch in the Bronx coming from the left side.
Yeah, I'm thinking of right field, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of visualizing it in my head.
Should be a fun game to be at tonight for sure. And tomorrow, if Verlander's on the mound in Yankee Stadium, I might have to make my way over to the Bronx. I'm over in Long Island, so I might have to.
You'll hear the crowd even standing, at 100th Street, and Yankee Stadium is on 182nd.
It's been electric. I've been there a few times already this season.
Yeah.
It's a joy as always.
And it'll be passionate for sure. Their fan favorite is Altuve. Trust me, when he comes up, you won't need an announcer to tell you who's up to bat.
Oh, no. Even on watching on TV, you'll be able to hear the raucous crowd chanting some explicits at Altuve. Certainly.
It'll be fun. Well, let's move to the final round of our show here with the best bets. And it's no secret, I don't think, if you've been listening to the show from the beginning, is I do like the Houston Astros quite a bit. I do it because the line is so skinny. It's basically a pick'em game. If this matchup was in Houston would be probably minus 135, 140. And I just smell something that doesn't smell so good if you're backing the Yankees. And I could be dead wrong. It's, I went 0-3 with my premium bets on Monday, and then I did better last night. And I think so far today we're looking at I'm not going to say it because the game's not over. And if I say sweep, and it's not going to happen. But, it's just one game. But I think this is a series that the Astros could conceivably take 3 out of 4. So I'll go on record as betting the Astros for the series win. And also tonight at plus whatever it is, plus 105, plus 100. Who knows? By game time, they actually might be a minus 105, minus 105 game. But it won't matter. It won't matter to me whether I bet it or not. Let's see who Jesse has for his best bet. And I really sincerely hope it's not the Yankees, because if that's the case, then I might have to put up another best bet and cancel my bet on the Astros. But let's see what he has.
Well, John, you don't have to worry about that. I'm not going to take the Yankees, but for my best bet, I am going to go back to that Padres-Phillies game, and I'm going to talk about the starting pitcher for the Padres. As I mentioned, Joe Musgrove, 8-0 with a 1.59 ERA. And while I'm not really considered a technical handicapper like you fellas, I have a more of an old school approach. I believe there's a technical term that you guys like to use called regression to the mean. And with Musgrove having an 8-0 record and a 1.59 ERA, he's on pace to go something like 20-0 with an ERA under 2, which doesn't happen very often. He's going to have a bad start eventually. And coming off the COVID list could help him put him in a position to do that tonight. And he's facing the kind of team that could pose a problem for him with the Phillies. Like I said, they've won 15 of their last 20, 10 of their last 12. They're still one of the hottest teams in baseball. And with that San Diego lineup being depleted, this looks like a great spot to back the Phillies at plus 1.5 on the run line.
I like that bet too. And you mentioned Baltimore earlier in the show too, and I definitely have a leaning on that, for a unit or two. I like that plus 1.5 for the Orioles quite a bit, because they could easily have the lead and then do what losing teams do and blow it in the ninth, and it gives you that cushion, which is so important. I like the plus 1.5 better than the minus 1.5 any day of the week. Especially don't bet run line minus 1.5 if they're the home team. If you do that consistently, you're not going to have even 10 cents to go try to buy a pizza. And that's just so true. Just don't do it. Let's see what Eric Pauly has for his best bet. And now that I said that, I know Eric's smart enough. He would never do a minus 1.5 home team run line in the first place. But let's see what he has today.
Yes, so looking at today's slate, I'm going to be going back to the Astros-Yankees games. I know I lean toward the over 8 runs for the total game. My best bet might seem a little contradictory, but I'm going with a no run in the first inning for the Yankees-Astros as my best bet, a minus 105. Looking at Framber Valdez and Jameson Taillon, right, they're two very good pitchers, but they're two pitchers who are overperforming this season. Looking at the Yankees pitching staff as well as the Astros pitching staff, you would probably rank these guys in the bottom tier of their starting rotation. Of course, you have Garrett Cole, Nestor Cortez leading the Yankees side. You have Justin Verlander, Luis Garcia, and Christian Javier on the Astros. So I think that these two teams, again, this whole entire series and the one they have next week is going to have a playoff atmosphere. And I think it's going to start with no runs being scored in the first. Valdez in 13 starts has only allowed a first inning run in 2 of those starts. Taillon in 13 starts has allowed a first inning run in just 3 of those starts. I think it's a game that's going to start off a little bit smooth. It's going to be back and forth with some runs. We're going to see an over 8, but we're definitely going to start that first inning without a run being scored.
Actually like that breakdown too. You guys do it so well that you hear it and the information is real. It's factual. It's actionable, and it makes the actionable part wanting to go to the window or pick out the phone and just bet the game right away on the app, even if it's just a unit or pizza money. It all is really good stuff. So that brings us to the end of the show. I wanted to mention that we're trying to get to 5,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel that you're watching right now. Even the slowest people that I have analyzed, it takes 37 seconds to ring the bell and hit subscribe. And that's the slowest of the slowest. So most of the people watching this show are of the age of 20 to 30, 40 years old. So I'm sure you can do it faster than 37 seconds. And if you need any help doing this, I'll be available to help you do this properly. But seriously, we're trying to get to 5,000. We're really close. And then we're going to try to get to 10,000. And we're just going to keep following in that Wager Talk model that has worked so well. And they are coming up on 100,000. They're less than, I think, 2,000 away now. So if you do 2 things today to subscribe and you're not subscribing to this show or the Wager Talk channel, those are the 2 you want to do today, and you'll benefit immensely. It's all free content, and it's from some of the best professional sports bettors in the world. So with that said, gentlemen, I'm going to appreciate and thank you for your time again on the show. It's always a blast with you 2 guys. And Jesse, you want to take us away this time, or should I do it?
I should just mention to everybody out there, please bet with your head and not over it, and may all the wins be yours.
Awesome. We'll see you tomorrow.